Yo, what's up? This is Mikey Dab, and welcome to the Hype Report. Each week we recap the biggest stories from HYPEBEAST directly from the minds of the editorial team. I'm here to connect the dots. Let's get into this week's show.
My name is Eddie. I'm the managing editor here at HYPEBEAST, and Mario Kart Tour is finally available for iOS and Android.
I get to smack talk on my text now.
Is that what you do?
I no longer have to wait for people to come over and play on a console because Mario Kart. Everybody comes over, you have a party. Wii's out, but it's out. I play on my phone now.
This is definitely the game that everyone was waiting for, and it's just so well respected and loved by everyone that it's finally available for a mobile console. Maybe console is not the right word, but
do you have it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Controls. Did you go simple or did you go drift?
What do you think?
Drift.
Yeah.
100%.
Of course.
100%. You get a little extra boost when you make your turns. It's fantastic.
Now, it's not exactly as easy as I thought it'd be.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And I found out you have to go into options to turn on motion sensor gyroscope kind of. Yeah. Which I tried it and it makes it a little bit better, but then you're kind of hesitant to do that like in public because you look ridiculous.
Look like you're actually in the Indy 500 trying to lean in your turns. It's not good.
It's like handing a controller to your 6-year-old cousin who doesn't know how to play video games, and they're turning with the game.
A lot of action going on the train, and I have a privacy screen, so they have no idea what I'm doing. They're just like, why is this guy leaning back and forth? They throw change at me. It's not good.
Well, I think that's also one of the public gripes about these Nintendo games is that they require internet connections, and it was apparent from Mario Run. When Mario Run first came out, everybody loved the game. Oh, this is fantastic. It's so much fun. But then they realized that if you're not connected to the internet, you get signed out and you can't play it anymore. A lot of the frustration was even for individuals who purchased the game, because I believe it was like a one-time purchase for Mario Run. Yeah, to be able to play more levels and things like that. But then they would perhaps assume you can play whenever, offline.
When you're on the train or whatever.
Then Nintendo also claimed that it was because of piracy. So I understand. I think a lot of the public will get that, and they can piece it together saying it's okay, if I pay $10, I'm have an internet connection anyway. I would be able to play it. But for Mario Kart Tour, I noticed there's a lot of DLC. So you have to level up, and you have to do this, you have to do that in order to get the character or the flyer.
It's like a console. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like playing a console game on your phone.
Yeah.
Without a controller. And if you're really into it, you can buy the controller adapter for your phone.
If you are so inclined, sure. I still think the novelty of it is that it is a full fleshed out Mario Kart game, which is awesome.
It looks dope.
Graphics are awesome. The sound is really intense, and the playability is great, especially if you have friends with you and things like that. But then the DLC comes in, and then that's how you play online, and that's how you play with others, and it's a bit disappointing for someone who thought they could jump right in. And I'm sure this is the larger conversation with all DLC and all games where you're limited by so much just to enjoy the one aspect that you wanted from that game, which is like multiplayer.
So they're definitely integrating a youth aspect to the game now. Because more kids are playing. Everything is based on the world of playing versus or open world PvP. So playing on console is one thing, but when you're on your phone, if you could have that same availability, like most kids are on their parents' phone or their own phone all day long. So if you can translate that into like a handheld situation, like they're basically taking over both worlds. And I think Nintendo took the longest to get into the mobile world as far as games go. So.
Well, you could argue that that's what Switch is, or that's what Wii U tried to be. And
Wii U, oof.
And the Mario Kart Tour, I think the best aspect of it is a very grab and go game. Like these races don't take that long. I think each one is maybe 2 laps, and then 2 laps would translate to 3 minutes, which is great. And they do it very well so that once you load the map, you're good to play for those 2 laps. And living in New York City, I think the average stop to stop, door open, door close is about 2 minutes. So on a good day.
Depends on what train line.
Yeah, depending on what train line, if you're on Express and things like that. But if that's the case and it's fine tuned for the understanding of short play, then it is fairly seamless and it's great. And I think it translates to Spotify users who are streaming their music And it is fairly seamless because it loads up very quickly.
Drives me crazy.
Yeah, but then every once in a while, if you're underground for a little bit too long and your music shuts
that
off.
That one delay, like, oh, we're being held here. And like, oh no, song's over.
Yeah, and then that's going to be the same for Mario Kart. And that's why I imagine the public really wants an offline mode. But then how does Nintendo make money? That's a good question.
Honestly, I won't play a game like that if I'm on a train. If I know that I'm going to lose service, so I take the M train. M train in Queens or Brooklyn is above ground, so it's fine for me. But the second I get to Essex, boop, game's off. Game is off, my friend.
What are some offline games you recommend?
Oh, Archer. I play Archer. It's like the little guy with a bow and arrow. Fantastic. It's like, oh. It's almost like a role-playing game with like 20 levels. It's fantastic. Do you have Archer?
I don't have Archer.
Oh, I have quite a few, but it's the one I'm addicted to right now. Archer is fun. It goes offline. I mean, like if you want to get your power-ups, you need like or you need connection. But once you hit it, it's on. And then you can play offline. It's fantastic. Breaking Brick is another good one too.
Oh yeah.
I also play a golf game. Oh geez, what's it called? It doesn't matter. Golf Rivals, as a matter of fact. But that you need service for. So I only do that when I'm home and I'm reading articles.
And maybe Nintendo should figure out where these players are playing, because I imagine if you wouldn't be playing Mario Kart Tour on your phones over your friend's house if they have a Switch or if they have a thing. And if that's the case, then maybe they're trying to open up a new market for it. Sure. But personally, commuting is where I would play these games. So I would like for some sort of offline mode, even if it's just practicing.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like anything that I can do, I could fine tune my skill, or I could just test the maps out while I'm on the train. Who cares? So I get used to my turn. Like, I mean, if you're an experienced gamer, you want to know the courses, ins and outs and quirks and kinks. So offline mode is perfect for me.
I did like when you were first loading the game and you had a large download. The update was 200, 300 megs. And while it was downloading, it gave you the option. It's like, oh, practice while downloading. I was like, oh, great. This is an awesome development from game companies who are encouraging you to play whenever.
Stay here. They want you to stay here.
Which was great. And then I hit a stop and it was like loading. I was like, oh, you were so close, Nintendo.
You almost had me, and now you don't.
Overall, the game looks and feels fantastic. It's super fun. I think it'll appeal to a lot of the OG Nintendo gamers. Also, of course, new adopters as well. It has red shells that you could throw people. It has Bowser shells you could throw people. Yes.
It even has the reverse mode, so you can see behind you when you have to throw the things behind you.
Yes. Yeah, you can back pitch them, right?
Fantastic. That is like key right there. Like, I'm going to pass you. No, you're not.
Throwing bananas behind you, like saving the banana, so it's a shield from red shells.
This is definitely like a good way to integrate kids who didn't know about Mario Kart either.
Yeah,
like, what game is this? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like these kids are going to come on and be like, oh, do you see I'm playing Mario Kart? This game is so much fun. You're like, oh, Mario Kart? I'm going to break out the dust on my my Wii over here and you can check it out on a console.
Mario Run, I played a lot. Dr. Mario World, I didn't play too much. I personally, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it has a very, very big cult following. I get that.
I think most Mario games do, though, which is kind of weird. Like I played on was it the DS? There's a Mario on the DS, Mario Galaxy. Is that it? Yeah,
perhaps.
That was wild. Yeah, and like and I didn't even realize I loved Mario still till I played. I was like, oh wow, because it was the Breath of the Wild and then Mario. It's like the two games I was stuck on.
Yeah. Well, that was my next point. I think Mario Kart was what I was waiting for, and I think a lot of the public may be waiting for some sort of Zelda game. That would be great on iOS.
Mm-hmm. I would never put my phone. It's bad now. Like if I had Zelda on my phone, the Link, well, forget about it. Well, I guess we'll stay up to date, see what else comes out from Nintendo or mobile apps, so to speak.
Sounds good.
All right. Catch you later. For the latest in gaming news, follow hypebeast.com/gaming or follow Hypebeast Gaming on Instagram.
My name is Jake. I'm an editor here at Hypebeast, and this week I'm going to talk about the valuation that Palace is supposedly looking into in regards to its investment business.
Now, are we being a little preemptive with this? It's like a rumor. It's like a whisper right now.
So the first to report this was WWD. They picked up the news based on rumors from people close to the deal that may or may not be able to confirm things. It's in the really early stages at the moment. There's no guarantee it's going either way. They've been speaking with the Rothschild Bank about potentially bringing in this outside investment, but there's no money exchanged at all.
Like once a conversation starts, though, and you start hearing these rumors, like it's almost I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It would almost be remiss if they didn't do it,
right,
so to speak. I mean, Supreme.
Yeah, so that's like obviously like right. What you come back to is like when you think about streetwear companies with investments, you think about Supreme. It's the one that everyone comes back to, and Palace gets compared to Supreme all the time anyways, so it kind of ties together. And the interesting thing is that you compare the two brands, Palace and Supreme, and Palace is obviously, at least in this industry, it's a household name, but outside of the streetwear bubble, it's not as big as Supreme. No hate to Palace, of course.
I'll do all that for you as soon as you're done. Don't worry.
I mean, I'm true neutral here. All I'm gonna say is that if you look at the Instagram counts, for instance, you have 13 million followers, Supreme. You have 1 million with Palace. So it's a little more niche.
I mean, even looking at their collaborations, it's always like the broken down version of what Supreme has done.
Sure.
If you look at it, not to call,
your words,
not to call Reebok broken down, but I mean, if you're talking Nike collaboration and then whatever they can get their hands on, it's always something subpar to Supreme. And I feel like that's probably like their biggest stigma at this moment, because they still want to be original, but how can you if Supreme's already done it?
Sure. You could look at the collaborations sort of as proof that it is or isn't comparable. I mean, obviously with Supreme, you have them bringing in the new Nike models. They're doing collections with people who make pinball machines with Pearl drum sets. Whereas with Palace, it's comparatively smaller. They usually do Adidas or Reebok, and then they might do something else. They did kickers last season, for instance.
Ooh.
One of the things that was kind of impressive, though, remember last year, the Polo collab, which might have, you could argue justifiably that was the collaboration of the entire year. Even.
I will give you that. Me personally, didn't like it.
Sure.
Didn't like it. I didn't like the style.
Well, it's not about if you like it or not, right? It's about the scale.
It's about the idea of them actually getting, like, when you hear something sometimes without even seeing the pieces, I immediately gravitate towards, oh, this is going to be dope.
Right.
Like, without even seeing anything. My immediate assumption is Palace. Cool. Polo. PP. I'm with it. Let's do it.
Sure.
Let's have. And then you see the collection, you're like, wow, this is subpar.
Well, see, that's the thing is I actually really liked it because I love the plaids they used. I love the heritage. And I really liked the idea of, even like the kick flipping polo bear. That was really cute. It was a nice way to update that instantly recognizable logo, that classic kind of waspy, JFK style.
I like that you integrated that. Yes, yeah. I get that 100%. And then you also have like low heads,
right,
which are two different realms of people.
And
but they also collect the same items of clothing, so like it's a little different.
And it was cool that it was international too. You have London meets Americana. It's it's completely not completely separate realms, but it's sort of an update to that sort of tired Northeastern American style with that more youthful spin that Palace is known for.
I agree. So I've been to the UK store, or the flagship, the flagship, and like I actually like. So I'm not just going to talk smack about Palace. I actually like the nuances in there, because you go in and it's very simple. It's clean. It's not overwhelming. It's not gaudy. You got a couple skate decks, a couple articles of clothing, and it's just like people chilling.
Sure,
it's really what it comes down to, and it's actually nicer than the Supreme layout.
Sure, in
my eyes, I feel like it's a lot more inviting for you to come in and be like, oh, this is chill.
Sure.
That's my favorite part.
So that kind of actually brings me to a good point I wanted to make about the biggest differences you can look to as an outsider when you compare Supreme and Palace, right? When you have Supreme, very hands-off on social media. They don't respond to anyone. They don't do like funny captions or anything. It's very cut and dry. This is our brand. This is our collaboration. This is our... Palace has a lot of fun with it. They have goofy captions. They have Jonah Hill in videos promoting him as a severed head. You have them responding to people. They do a lot of roasts in the comments, some maybe more successful than others, but they have a lot more fun with their copy as well on their website. They also are more willing to sort of try different things with their stores, where Supreme is very consistent with their layout in their store. They might have something from the Guns. They might have like decks. Palace in the New York store, for instance, has like this cherubic imagery. They have like crazy Greco-Roman pillars that they use to display things on. It's a lot more laid back than Supreme.
And I think it's their origins, so to speak. Like I love London. Yeah, I like being there, just the scene. And a lot of people have a lot of different things to say about the culture in London, but I prefer it almost over New York, just because everybody's a little bit more inviting. Maybe it's because I'm from New York and not from there, but
sure.
And I feel like when I walk into stores, it's a different greeting as well. I'll just bring up Stone Island and a couple of other stores, like, because they're all in like the general area, like their Soho. It's actually called Soho, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's so different.
Yeah.
It's hard to put your finger on, because like people who come in from other states to New York that are tourists or whatever, I get the same thing on like my social. It's like, oh, they were super rude.
Yeah.
They were super rude. Like I felt like I had to like flag them down or offer them a gift to get them to help me. I'm like, oh, that's just New York, man. But like traveling to London, it's the opposite. So I kind of get that vibe and the difference between Supreme here and Palace, which is the other thing that makes me want to shop there as well.
I want to mention one other thing, not in relation to that immediately available information or experience that you can have as a customer. We don't know what Supreme makes a year. They don't file public records, but you look at their valuation that they had from Carlyle. That was $1 billion valuation. They invested reportedly $500 million into Supreme. Right? That's a lot of money. Palace, on the other hand, according to a filing that they had with Companies House, as of January 31st, 2018, they made, after taxes, whatnot, 25.9 million British pounds, which is not insignificant, especially for an independent clothing brand. But I mean, you compare 25 million pounds to $1 billion valuation, billion American dollars. It's kind of a step up.
Yeah, it's a David and Goliath kind of deal.
Yeah, right. So I mean, that's how you can kind of look at it. Is maybe because Palace doesn't have that big reach of Supreme, it doesn't have that immediate name brand recognition, they need the money to expand. If they want to get bigger, if they want to not necessarily compete with Supreme, but rise to that level of like immediate household status, everyone and their mom go shopping at Supreme, bring that to Palace, they're going to need money to bring that to bring their influence out to more stores. They're going to need to expand. I mean, they have 4 stores. Mm-hmm. Supreme has like a dozen.
Yeah, and growing.
Right.
So I you know what? I definitely concur with the idea of like getting investment to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily for them, social media has them at a very high tier.
Yeah.
Like no matter when it gets posted or a collection comes up, like it's there. Well, I want to say like maybe 4 years ago, it was highly invisible.
Sure. Yeah.
You'd be like, ooh, I know what it is because you're in the, let's say, culture. But anybody else would have been like, what is that pyramid thing? Was it a triangle?
Right.
What's going on here?
And that's another thing is that like, you think about like the presence they have on social media, the presence they have with other people. When Supreme got that big investment from Carlyle, that was something people were talking about, was the authenticity. Mm-hmm. Is this going to make Supreme more corporate? Pretty much nothing has changed. The way people look at Palace, though, it's purely authentic, right? It's super authentic. It's super individual. It's totally independent. And there's a question is, if this brand that is smaller than Supreme and can't say yes or no to the investors because they have so much money already, mm-hmm. will they be able to maintain that independence and that authenticity once they have outsider money come in?
I mean, are
they going to be able to, keep roasting people on social media? I
think that they even corporations have learned that like you kind of have to let the brand do what it's been doing. Mm-hmm. If it's been successful this far, like why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
That's one. And like the other thing that I looked at with Supreme is they were super smart about it. Even though Supreme stayed Supreme, the only thing that really changed were the numbers.
Right.
And that was store. And it was more online.
Yeah.
Like it was really more online than anything. Like people were like, oh, I still can't get anything inside the store, but like, wait, they invested all this money. Where's it going? But then like people were hitting online in an infinite number. Like bots mm-hmm. were obviously winning as well, but they were able to deliberate that the influx of product into the online where like you didn't feel it in the store. And It still felt like it was niche.
Right. And that could mean more, big name collaborations for Palace too. Like we were talking about the big Supreme collaborations. They have, motorcycles and they have, all these crazy brands that do leather jackets or whatever, teddy bears. Palace with more money could potentially reach out to bigger partners and maybe produce more clothing, produce more items, produce bigger items. Not that stock has necessarily been a big issue for them, but mm-hmm. you think about how much money it takes to run a business, and it doesn't hurt to have more capital.
Oh, of course. So, like the good thing about the way the world works now too is that sometimes being the underdog, so to speak, is actually the person they want more.
Right.
Because everybody knows that big name already. We already mm-hmm. know where they're going. We already know who they work with. Like if I'm a speaker company and they've done however many speakers they've done, Harman Court, whatever. Like, I'm not going to go back to Supreme again. I'm going to go to somebody else that is equal to or maybe less than, so that way we can build together. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they have that niche as well.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, they're smaller than Supreme, but they're definitely not like obscure.
Yeah,
at least as streetwear guys, they're not a nobody. So they're not like they're starting from the very very bottom trying to get somewhere big. They're already at a pretty good position. They have dedicated fans for sure. There was a big line for the fall drops. There's going to be a big line for the winter drops. There always is.
That Friday's backed up over there. I passed by purposely just to see what it looks like out there. I'm like, what do we got? But you know, for the most part, like, I mean, Thursday and even the day that they schedule is like a good day.
Yeah.
Like Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday's your drop for other stuff. So, it's always good.
Yeah, something to think about.
Anyway, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks.
Always
for
a
having
pleasure.
Me. Yep.
For the latest in fashion and style, follow HYPEBEAST Style on Instagram or go to hypebeast.com/fashion.
Hey, this is Isaac Rouse, Associate Editor here at HYPEBEAST. We are talking about Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix film that is garnering a lot of controversy right now in the media.
It's not looking good.
No.
Society is not happy.
No, not at all. And you can understand the argument. There are a lot of people that feel like this film will encourage a certain subsection of people who kind of idolize this character, and a lot of other characters like your Walter Whites, sort of like your Fight Club, kind of have this kind of weird admiration and anti-heroes and kind of like carry that mentality out in real life. And it's gotten to a point where the U.S. government has issued out like warnings to like, just in case there's some sort of like incel terrorist attack.
I mean, V is for Vendetta. They might just throw on masks and start revolting places. I think Landmark Movie Theater is one of the theaters that has banned any idea of a costume for, and they're like, well, it's so our viewers or moviegoers don't feel any kind of way while they're watching the movie, which I can completely understand. It's this idea that there are plenty of people, especially with the internet and the availability to be in a group or a chat or whatever, and all these people kind of uniting over a feeling. Now you put that on the big screen and it's already talked about all over the place. It's like, oh, this is one of the best movies out this year so far. Joaquin Phoenix's performance is a breakthrough. And then he walks out of this interview because of, I'm pretty sure you got the facts on that?
Yeah.
Like, why do you walk out?
Joaquin Phoenix walked out of an interview with Telegraph when he was asked a question about the film possibly promoting violence and people to carry out violence in real life. And according to the interviewer, the question kind of caught him off guard, and he walked out and spoke to a PR person and came back and said he actually never considered that to be a problem or the idea to even come into his mind that his movie could possibly inspire something like this.
I almost don't believe that at all.
I don't believe it either. Like, if he had to walk away from an interview and talk to a PR person, then obviously he had to double check to make sure he can say things that he's able to say.
Yeah, that's definitely scary. The fact that you had to, is he a method actor?
He is, and he walked out of several scenes during the filming of Joker, and a lot of people came out and said, he kind of gets into it, and
so there's no way on God's green earth that you are a method acting this kind of violence and these kind of feelings about people and how they look at you, and then projecting it back out into the world without realizing that it's going to cause something or incite something in people. Sure,
and not to mention the fact that there was an actual shooting when The Dark Knight Rises came out, and there was a guy who he was dressed like a clown, didn't say he was necessarily the Joker, but he looked like a clown type character. And, there were even reports that he said, "I am the Joker" during the arrest, although that was, there's no evidence of such.
Yeah, they don't want to.
But, the media still will point out the fact that that was a thing that got misquoted, still just to kind of sensationalize this story, which a lot of it, I feel like, sure, of course, these things should be mindfully taken care of or mindfully approached. But at the same time, there is a bit of sensationalism behind the news coverage of the film.
They need to draw people in. There's there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Sure.
Is that what the saying is?
Right.
And I feel like they really have coined that phrase rather well. No matter what happens, there's always something extra. Always something. Like, especially like, yeah, I don't know. I can't see this method actor business not being like. How do you not know that this is like the world we live in right now? And like, I don't even want to bring up like outside situations. Like, I'm talking just about this, and kids getting bullied or whatever the situation may be. Like, it's a real life situation.
Sure.
Especially with the internet. Like, this is even like an internet. Like the setting isn't through the internet. It's through Robert De Niro's, at least through the trailer. From what I'm viewing it as, is that he goes, Robert De Niro, he's supposed to be a Joker, and then like they make fun of him. Like they're poking fun at him and the way that he thinks things are funny.
Right.
And like everybody has that kind of feeling, you know. Like I have that feeling when I think I guess I wasn't funny. All right, fine, you know. And then you kind of like shy away from it. But if there's like a large group of people that are all making fun of you, it creates a feeling within you. And this is basically what that's what this movie is. And he becomes a character. He becomes a villain.
And that's the thing. The family who was affected by the Dark Knight Rises shooting came out against the film, saying that the film looks to give Joker sort of a sympathetic kind of story. Just because you see his origin, you see that he was just like this guy who was like pushed to the edge and kind of like took it on his own to kind of like fix his life in whatever twisted way he happens to do it. Haven't seen the film yet. And a lot of people, that's the problem with a lot of people's approach to the film, is that there's this heinous character that is being spotlighted in a sympathetic light. And because of that, there's a sense of, you can kind of sympathize with the character.
I mean, yeah.
And people do not want that to be the case, although there are plenty of cases in media where you can point that out. But the argument isn't about that inspiring people to do those kind of actions.
They want to make him not look like a hero. And you know, the sad part is like the visibility on a character like this isn't necessarily a negative thing. Like they're worried about the violent effect that it may have, but what about the actual effect it has on people who are causing these situations?
That's what
That's
a lot
the more
of
positive.
That's what a lot of fans are saying. Instead of the media asking Joaquin Phoenix, will this inspire people who are getting the bad card dealt to them in life to kind of take it out on people who aren't responsible for it, or instead of asking, will this film inspire people to not do these things to people, as like a cautionary sort of tale of like kind of being kinder to the next person next to you, and you never know what another person is struggling with.
Maybe not being so ignorant to someone else's troubles.
Sure, right.
You know, like instead of being so inconsiderate, let's go with inconsiderate.
Right.
People are very like trains or holding a door, simple as an elevator.
Right.
Simple things like that go unwarranted because I'm busy.
Right.
I've got things to do. I can't worry about the next person. But at the same time, that next person, you know, could be you at some point.
I actually wanted to read a quote from the director, Todd Phillip. He basically said, well, I think that for most of us, you're able to tell the difference between right and wrong, and those that aren't capable of interpreting anything in that way that they may want to. People misinterpret lyrics from songs. They misinterpret passages from books, so I don't think it's the responsibility of a filmmaker to teach the audience morality or the difference between being right and wrong. I mean, to me, I think that's obvious.
I completely understand where he's coming from, because sometimes it's like being mad at Eminem or being mad at Call of Duty when kids do things that at the same time, like it's just a song that's out there in the world. Those are just lyrics. Like they don't have to be interpreted any way. It's almost the parents' responsibility to make sure that, you know, your child or someone around you understands what the severity of that situation is, not so much the song or the video game or the movie to teach that.
I think that's true. And I also think that that's the casualty of creating art. Once that piece of art leaves you and is injected to the audience, that piece of art is immediately cut with the viewer's childhood. It's cut with their own personal views and opinions on things. And the result of whatever that may be is going to be different from the next person and the next person. So there are totally different interpretations. Whatever art you're creating for whatever reason you're creating it for, may not be received that way, just because that's just how people interpret it.
It's the interpretation.
Yeah.
Art is very subjective. I feel like you and I might have to go see this movie.
I'm trying to see this as early as possible. Like,
well, I usually book things. Well, we'll talk about it like after this. Like I try and book it like the Thursday before, like the night before it rolls into the release day.
For sure.
Like late night or something like that. It's like 10, 11 o'clock at night, whatever time it is, and go see it, just so I have, before anybody ruins it on social media.
Word.
There's memes like within the first hour. You're like, oh, come on, man.
Everyone's gotta be first.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, we definitely have to. So Boondock Saints, I got to catch up on. That's one, and then two, we got to go see this so we can follow up on entertainment.
You see what I mean, man? You just referred to the Boondocks as the movie with Norman Reedus in it. You said the Boondock Saints.
Oh shit.
See what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Get on your boy, everybody. He has to watch the Boondocks.
The Boondocks. So I won't make that mistake. That's a good catch, by the way. Under the bus, I have been thrown. All right, so let's get out of here.
All right, man.
Always a pleasure, Isaac.
Always.
Movie time.
For the latest in entertainment news, follow HYPEBEAST on Instagram or go to hypebeast.com/entertainment. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Hype Report. You can find out more about the show and listen to other episodes on hypebeast.com/radio. You can subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. Leave a comment and let us know what you think about this week's topics. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Mikey Dab, and that's 2 B's. And shout out to the editorial team. I'm Mikey Dab, and thanks for listening to The Hype Report. Any comment, opinion, or suggestion made by any person contained in this episode does not represent HYPEBEAST in any way, and those genuinely are their individual, personal opinion and thoughts towards the topic shared.